This video aims at threefold. Number 1. To inform the world of big tech's preposterous censorship of right-wing politicians, including Christians. Number 2. To condemn the monopoly of communication platforms to monitor and control free citizens. Number 3. To raise awareness among the free world concerning big tech's manipulation of contents and design algorithms that favor their candidates of choice. The plausible solutions suggested are threefold. Number 1. To deter big techs and main media from the suppression of free speech. Number 2. To create a new variety of platforms such as Gap to prevent monopoly. Number 3. To liaise with all free world leaders and make a law that would combat the digital dictatorship. Condemnation of US big techs and main media's relentless censorship and the suppression of free speech against the right-wing politicians and Christians. Supporting the Florida lawmaker Ron DeSantis and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison to challenge Silicon Valley over censorship. Dear honorable free citizens, as the free citizens of South Korea living in and out of our home country, we all witnessed that the election frauds by foreign intervention were committed during the US presidential election on November 3, 2020. According to the Director of National Intelligence Report, the Chinese Communist Party was behind in the manipulation of the US elections. To prevent the failure of democracy, Trump and his team have worked in every way possible to correct this electoral frauds through a legal process. Despite the Trump team's effort, the state court and associate justices of the Supreme Court have not even reviewed or investigated their allegation, neglecting completely all the evidence of election manipulation. The Joint Congress has also dismissed most claims without fair trial and review, while the mainstream media incited and brainwashed the public with their premature assertion of Biden wins in the election. While acknowledging Trump and his supporters should be accountable for the violence to some degree at the Capitol of 6th of January 2021, the riot was not entirely caused by Trump supporters. The FBI investigation has indicated that the ultra-left organizations such as Antifa and BLM were main culprits for the social unrest as part of the premeditated instigation of the Democratic Party. What is even more alarming is the fact that the mainstream media and press, with the lead of key Democratic leaders, are continuing to falsely accuse Trump as traitor and agitator. It is unconstitutional violence that they are committing by discussing impeachment of President Trump, who has already terminated his term. Freedom of expression is a vitally important principle to the United States and free world. And yet, online platforms such as Facebook, Google, and Twitter shamelessly banned the accounts of Trump and his team in front of the bare eyes of all free nations, shutting off Trump communication to the public. This is a seditious method used by Chinese communists to control their people. Dear honorable citizens who love freedom, as Korean, we have witnessed the illegitimacy and senseless violence committed by radical left groups during the impeachment proceedings in early 2017. We also experienced election frauds taking place at the National Assembly election on the 15th April 2020. Regardless of bipartisan, the last 2 months were still shocking to us as the wicked nature of neo-Marxists and their co-conspirators were revealed in front of us. For world citizens who wish to protect freedom, it is time to stand against illegal violence and injustice. Trump team has revealed the real face of the established elite groups connected with the Chinese Communist Party, who have wielded evil power to exploit civilians, even violate human rights in many forms. It is now up to the ordinary citizen to fight the globalists in order to uphold universal value of freedom, rule of law, and human rights. Some conservative leaders in the USA, nevertheless, who are supposed to support Trump in the fight against injustice and breaches of the Constitution, have abandoned their duty. The United States presidential election of 2020 was a reenactment of Korean Withpeople government and their political violence and bullies. The oppression of freedom, religion, and speech, the corrupted left-wing politicians, the imbecility of so-called conservative politicians, the patterns of betrayal and compromise were all evident during the US election as a copycat of Korean cases. Dear free citizen, we must not turn our eyes away from this senseless injustice and unlawful acts. We must come together to withstand insanity by big techs. It is our obligation and rightful claims to resist their press operations through politically bigoted bias and prejudice. We urge President Trump to declare overall injustice and to fight against the global elite groups. We freedom-loving Koreans strongly support his strong resistance toward the deep infiltration of social communism associated with media dictatorship. We also strongly support Ron DeSantis, the 46th governor of Florida, to challenge big tech's political manipulation. We also applaud Scott Morrison, who valiantly slammed the tech giant's threats to withdraw its search engine from Australia. God does not excuse the wicked, and He will protect free world where justice, democracy, and freedom exist in harmony. If we pray with sincere heart and forgiving heart for the wicked, He will withdraw His wrath and answer our prayer. February 3rd, 2021. Thank you.